Stop scrolling. Right now, hiding in plain sight, you are about to discover the hidden truth behind everyday pocket change, and I can guarantee that one of the Lincoln pennies in this presentation is worth far more than it looks. You might already be unknowingly overlooking something incredibly valuable, tossing away a fortune in everyday transactions simply because you do not know the exact microscopic details to look for. In this presentation, we are counting down through a carefully ranked list of remarkable Lincoln cents, starting from highly valuable modern transition pieces and moving toward the absolute most remarkable and rare examples ever struck by the United States Mint. I must warn you, leaving this countdown early means you will completely miss the most important item on this list, an artifact of numismatic history that could instantly change your financial reality. I want you to think about your own pocket change, that heavy coin jar sitting on your dresser, your inherited collection resting in the attic, or any equivalent everyday object where loose coins gather over the years. Before we uncover our first treasure, I have a simple question for you. Have you ever taken a magnifying glass to the date on a penny just to see if it looks slightly different? Let me know in the comments below right now before we begin. Coin number 4. What if I told you that a seemingly modern, completely ordinary penny from the late 1980s could command a massive premium simply because it was manufactured from the wrong foundational material? This is the 1989D Lincoln cent struck on a pre-1982 solid copper planchet, a modern transitional error that defies the standard minting procedures of its era. To understand why this item exists, we have to examine the historical production timeline of the United States Mint. In 1982, due to the rising cost of raw copper, the Mint officially transitioned the composition of the 1-cent piece from a solid 95% copper alloy to a core of solid zinc that was merely plated with an ultra-thin layer of pure copper. By the time 1989 arrived, the Mint had been producing billions of these lighter zinc core planchets for 7 years. However, in extremely isolated incidents, leftover solid copper planchets from the pre-1982 era managed to remain lodged in the deep crevices of the minting hoppers, or the transport tote bins, only to be dislodged years later and fed into the coinage presses alongside the standard modern zinc blanks. The primary identifying detail that establishes the narrator authority on this piece is its physical mass. Because copper is significantly denser than zinc, a true 1989 copper transition error will exhibit a distinct, concrete weight difference that cannot be faked. To give you a broader category primer, the Lincoln Cent series was originally designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. This iconic design has endured for over a century, making it the longest-running coin design in United States history and creating a massive dedicated collector base that scrutinizes every single year and mint mark combination for variations. The fixed factors that determine the value of a piece within this broader series rely upon a strict checklist of numismatic standards. First is condition, referring to the state of preservation and the absence of circulation wear. Second is rarity, defined by how many confirmed examples have survived in the numismatic marketplace. Third is originality, meaning the coin has not been artificially recolored, cleaned, or chemically altered in any way. Fourth is demand, which dictates the current market enthusiasm for era coins of this specific decade. Finally, craftsmanship and material authenticity measure the strength of the die strike and the verified metallic composition of the underlying planchet. To inspect this yourself, you must follow a checklist that perfectly mirrors these value factors. You begin by placing the coin on a highly calibrated digital gram scale to verify the weight. Next, you must utilize a jeweler's loupe under strong, direct, incandescent lighting to inspect the surface for any signs of artificial plating or tampering. Finally, you must evaluate the sharp edges of the lettering and the portrait to confirm the strike matches the typical pressure profile of the Denver Mint for that specific year. The classification of these coins demonstrates that small differences in condition or authenticity produce incredibly large differences in value. On the Sheldon coin grading scale, which runs from 1 to 70, a coin in a circulated state of about uncirculated 55 might only hold moderate interest. However, if that same transitional error coin achieves a pristine mint state 65 designation and retains its original mint red color classification rather than fading to red-brown or brown, the value multiplies exponentially due to the flawless preservation of the error. These incredible anomalies are still routinely found in plausible, everyday environments, such as unsearched bankrolls, estate sale accumulations, inherited collections from casual hobbyists, and heavy glass jars that have sat untouched in suburban closets for decades. If you ever locate a suspect piece, you must remember one absolute rule of preservation. Never under any circumstances attempt to clean, polish, or alter the surface of the coin, as maintaining the original patina is always vastly more important than artificial shine. Many people believe that modern coins from the 1980s were produced in such massive, flawless quantities that errors are impossible, but experienced collectors know that the automated, high-volume mechanics of the modern United States Mint actually guarantee that spectacular, valuable anomalies will occasionally slip into public circulation. The definitive proof of this phenomenon occurred when a pristine, authenticated example of a 1989 D Lincoln cent that struck on a solid copper planche crossed the auction block and achieved a record sale price of exactly $3,120. I highly recommend that you pause, retrieve a digital gram scale, and go check your own late 80s pennies right now before we move on to our next exceptional item. Coin number 3. What if I told you that a penny from 1983 could hold a secret optical illusion on its reverse that multiplies its value by thousands of dollars? This is the 1983 Lincoln Memorial cent featuring the dramatic double die reverse, an extraordinary die variety that stands as one of the most significant modern errors in American numismatics. The origin of this specific item stems from the highly technical die-making process at the Philadelphia Mint during the early 1980s. Before a coin is struck, a working die must be created by pressing a master hub into a softened steel cylinder multiple times to ensure a deep, perfect impression. In 1983, during one of these hubbing phases, the die was slightly rotated between impressions. The result was a working die that possessed two distinct offset images overlapping one another, which was then installed in the coin press and used to strike thousands of pennies before the mistake was finally noticed and removed from the production floor. The concrete identifying detail you must look for to confirm this variety requires examining the reverse of the coin, specifically focusing on the typography. You are looking for distinct wide doubling on the words e pluribus unum and 1 cent, where the secondary lettering clearly protrudes from beneath the primary lettering, creating a highly visible, overlapping shadow effect cast in solid metal. As a reminder regarding the broader category primer, the Lincoln Cent series was originally designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. This iconic design has endured for over a century, making it the longest-running coin design in United States history and creating a massive, dedicated collector base that scrutinizes every single year and mint mark combination for variations. The fixed factors that determine the value of this piece within the broader series rely upon a strict checklist of numismatic standards. First is condition, referring to the state of preservation and the total absence of circulation wear. Second is rarity, defined by how many confirmed examples of this specific die pairing have survived in the numismatic marketplace. Third is originality, meaning the coin has not been artificially recolored, cleaned, or chemically altered in any way. Fourth is demand, which dictates the intense current market enthusiasm for highly visible double die varieties. Finally, craftsmanship measures the strength of the die strike, ensuring the doubling is bold and unmistakable. To inspect this yourself, you must follow a checklist that perfectly mirrors these value factors. You begin by securing a 10 power or 20 power jeweler's loop. Next, you must adjust a single source of directional lighting to cast shadows across the raised lettering on the reverse of the coin. Finally, you carefully examine the serifs and corners of the letters in 1 cent to verify that the doubling is a true, raised physical feature rather than a flat reflection or a common machine doubling anomaly caused by a loose press. The classification of these coins demonstrates that small differences in condition produce incredibly large differences in final value. On the standardized Sheldon grading scale, which runs from 1 to 70, A circulated example of the 1983 double die reverse grading extremely fine 40 might be worth a few $100s. However, if that identical error is preserved perfectly in a mint state 67 red designation, displaying full original mint luster without a single distracting contact mark, the value reaches into the high thousands simply because finding this error in flawless condition is exceptionally difficult. These astonishing varieties are still routinely found in plausible, everyday environments, such as unsearched canvas bank bags, estate sale accumulations, inherited collections from casual hobbyists, and commercial cash registers, where older coins circulate continuously. If you happen to locate a suspect piece, you must remember one absolute rule of preservation. Never under any circumstances attempt to clean, polish, or alter the surface of the coin, as maintaining the original untouched patina is always vastly more important than generating an artificial shine. Many people believe that errors must be visually massive, like a coin struck entirely off-center, to be valuable, but experienced enthusiasts know that microscopic, deeply technical die varieties often command the fiercest bidding wars at major auction houses. The ultimate payoff for this particular error occurred when an absolutely pristine mint state 68 red example of the 1983 double die reverse crossed the auction block and achieved an astounding record sale price of $7,050. You should thoroughly inspect the reverse side of every 1983 penny in your possession, examining the lettering carefully before we proceed to our next extraordinary coin. Coin number 2. What if I told you that a completely standard, intentional, non-error penny from 1952 could be worth more than a brand new luxury vehicle, provided it survived the decades in an absolutely impossible state of perfection? This is the 1952D Lincoln Wheat cent, representing the pinnacle of standard production quality from the Denver Mint during the post-war economic boom. The context surrounding this item is rooted entirely in the immense scale of American commerce in the early 1950s. The Denver Mint was tasked with producing hundreds of millions of 1-cent pieces to fuel a rapidly expanding national economy. Because the minting presses were run constantly at maximum capacity, the working dies deteriorated very quickly, striking coins with weak details, heavy die flow lines, and mushy lettering. The vast majority of the coins from this specific year were immediately dumped into massive canvas bags, heavily scarred by contact with other coins, and shipped out to banks where they circulated heavily for decades. The vital identifying detail you must analyze on this piece is not an error, but rather the absolute absence of typical manufacturing flaws. You must look for a razor-sharp strike on the highest points of Lincoln's cheek and jawbone, combined with the presence of the small D mint mark beneath the date, and entirely devoid of the carbon spots, copper oxidation, or bag marks that plague 99% of the coins from this specific facility and era. Returning to our broader category primer, the Lincoln Cent series was originally designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. This iconic design has endured for over a century, making it the longest-running coin design in United States history, and creating a massive, dedicated collector base that scrutinizes every single year in mint mark combination for variations. The fixed factors that determine the value of this classic piece rely upon a strict checklist of numismatic standards. First is condition, which in this case requires an absolute museum-quality state of perfection. Second is rarity, defined not by the original mintage, but by the extreme scarcity of flawless surviving examples. Third is originality, meaning the coin retains its vibrant, fiery original mint color without any chemical dipping. Fourth is demand, driven by registry set collectors attempting to build the highest graded set of wheat pennies in the world. Finally, craftsmanship measures the exact striking pressure, ensuring every strand of hair and every wheat stalk is fully defined. To inspect this yourself, you must follow a checklist that perfectly mirrors these value factors. You begin by carefully holding the coin by its very edges, ensuring no natural oils from your skin contact the fragile copper surface. Next, you must tilt the coin under a single bright incandescent light source to verify the presence of an unbroken, cartwheel-like reflection of mint luster rotating across the fields. Finally, you utilize high magnification to hunt for microscopic hairline scratches or tiny black carbon spots that would immediately disqualify the coin from elite status. The classification of these coins demonstrates better than any other that microscopic differences in condition produce staggering differences in value. On the Sheldon coin grading scale, a 1952 D penny in a beautiful uncirculated mint state 65 red condition is relatively common and might be worth less than $20. However, if that exact same coin possesses slightly fewer microscopic abrasions, pushing it up just 3 points to the virtually flawless grade of mint state 68 red, the financial valuation explodes outward in an exponential curve. While circulated examples are common, these elite, untouched specimens are occasionally still found in plausible environments, such as forgotten safety deposit boxes, original wrapped bank rolls from the 1950s, and inherited estate collections carefully assembled by previous generations. If you secure an uncirculated roll of these coins, you must remember the absolute rule of preservation. Never, under any circumstances, attempt to clean, polish, or alter the surface of the coin, as maintaining the original brilliant patina is vastly more important than any artificial intervention. Many people believe that the raw production numbers of a coin dictate its total value, but experienced experts know that true ultimate scarcity lives almost entirely in the coin's condition and state of preservation, regardless of how many millions were originally manufactured. The astonishing reality of condition rarity was proven permanently when a flawless, population one example of the 1952 D Lincoln cent graded mint state 68 red crossed the auction block and achieved a record sale price of $22,325. Take a moment to think about the pristine, shiny wheat pennies sitting in your older albums and inspect them for absolute perfection as we move toward the final, most remarkable coin on our list. Coin number one. What if I told you that a penny minted during the height of the Second World War could hold the power to fund a comfortable retirement, all entirely dependent on the specific metal clinging to a magnet? This is the legendary 1943 bronze Lincoln cent, widely considered the holy grail of 20th century American numismatics and the most famous era coin in global history. The extraordinary context of this item is inextricably linked to the immense logistical pressures of 1943. During this critical year, the United States government required massive quantities of copper to manufacture ammunition shell casings, communication wiring, and vital military equipment for the war effort overseas. To conserve this essential material, the United States Mint completely halted the production of traditional bronze pennies, switching instead to planchets made of steel that were coated in a thin layer of zinc. However, when the massive coining presses transitioned to the new steel blanks at the end of 1942, a tiny, unrecorded handful of the old bronze planchets remained hidden in the supply bins. When production resumed in 1943, these leftover bronze blanks were accidentally fed into the presses, stamped with the 1943 date, and quietly released into public circulation alongside millions of the new steel pennies. The absolute, definitive identifying detail you must use to build your authority when hunting for this piece is its magnetic property. A common 1943 penny is made of steel, meaning it will aggressively stick to a standard magnet. A genuine 1943 bronze heir is composed of copper alloys, meaning it will completely fail to react to a magnet of any strength. To reiterate our broader category primer one final time, the Lincoln Cent series was originally designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. This iconic design has endured for over a century, making it the longest-running coin design in United States history and creating a massive dedicated collector base that scrutinizes every single year in mint mark combination for variations. The fixed factors that determine the value of this legendary piece rely upon a strict checklist of numismatic standards. First is condition, evaluating the extent of circulation where the coin sustained before it was discovered. Second is absolute rarity, defined by the fact that only roughly 20 to 30 genuine examples are known to exist across all mint facilities. Third is originality, demanding the coin has not been altered or fraudulently manufactured. Fourth is demand, representing the fact that every major collector in the world desires this specific centerpiece. Finally, material authenticity is the paramount factor, requiring exhaustive metallurgical testing to confirm the exact copper alloy composition matches the pre-1943 standards. To inspect this yourself, you must follow a checklist that perfectly mirrors these value factors. You begin with the simplest and most crucial step, applying a strong magnet to the surface of the 1943 penny. If it sticks, it is a common steel cent worth a few cents. Next, if it does not stick, you must place the coin on a calibrated gram scale. A genuine bronze cent will weigh approximately 3.11 grams, whereas a standard steel cent weighs only 2.70 grams. Finally, you must use high magnification to closely examine the number 3 in the date, ensuring it has not been fraudulently altered from a common 1948 penny by a counterfeiter meticulously carving away the left side of the 8. The classification of these coins demonstrates that while condition matters, pure authenticity produces the ultimate value differences. On the Sheldon grading scale, even a heavily damaged, heavily circulated 1943 bronze cent grading at a lowly good 4 will easily command 6 figures simply because it exists. However, if a genuine example is discovered in a preserved, uncirculated mint state condition, retaining its original red or brown luster, the value transcends standard coin collecting and enters the realm of world-class, multi-million-dollar museum antiquities. Despite their immense fame, these impossible artifacts are still actively hunted in plausible environments, such as forgotten estate sale accumulations, inherited grandfather collections stored in old cigar boxes, and historic hoards of wheat pennies that have sat unsearched in attics since the end of the 1940s. If you ever miraculously identify a non-magnetic 1943 penny that weighs over 3 grams, you must remember the absolute rule of preservation. Never, under any circumstances, attempt to clean, polish, or alter the surface of the coin, as any chemical intervention will immediately destroy hundreds of thousands of dollars in historic equity. Many people believe that the most valuable coins in the world must be massive bars of solid gold or ancient Roman artifacts. But experienced experts know that the most aggressive, record-breaking numismatic bidding wars often revolve around tiny, accidental copper pennies born out of sheer logistical chaos. The staggering payoff for this legendary wartime error occurred when a breathtaking uncirculated example of the 1943 bronze Lincoln cent crossed the auction block and achieved an unbelievable record sale price of $1,041,300. You must immediately go track down a magnet, pull out every single 1943 penny in your possession, and test them all right now before doing anything else. Ultimately, whether it is a modern weight transition, a microscopic optical illusion in the typography, a flawless state of unexpected perfection, or a $1 million wartime accident, all of these astonishing items are united by a single thread. The real differentiator between common pocket change and a life-changing fortune is always a small, exceptionally easy-to-miss detail, not just raw appearance or the simple age of the object alone. If you want to continue mastering these secrets and ensure you never accidentally spend a hidden treasure, you need to subscribe to the channel right now, turn on all notifications so you never miss an urgent update, like this video to support the research, and share it with a friend who has a massive jar of old coins sitting in their house. Before you leave, I want you to answer one specific question down in the comments. Which of these 4 remarkable Lincoln pennies surprised you the most today? If you found this countdown eye-opening, you are going to be absolutely shocked by what we uncover next. Stop scrolling and click the video on your screen right now, where I reveal a completely different set of everyday coins hiding in your wallet that are secretly funding early retirements, because you might already be carrying one in your pocket right this very second.